The German Empire was an empire formed out of the unity and brotherhood of nations into a massive behemoth in Central Europe. However, its history has been forgotten in all but really its foundation and end. The German Empire formed in January 1871 and ended in 1918, with the conclusion of World War I. I think, however, nobody looks at the middle as much. We will explore today the German Empire and what life was like, along with how the state worked, the problems and solutions it had, and why the concept of the German Empire took so long to be realized. This will be a 3-part series. Please like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. And yeah, without further ado, let me go into it. To start, we will talk about what life was like. If you woke up in the morning as a young person, you would be expected to go to school and learn an emphasis on German history, culture, philosophy, and art. In this era, there were many notable geniuses, such as Theodor Mommsen, Emil von Weinreich, Hermann Fischer, along with many others. The fact that so many Germans like Einstein were Nobel Prize winners when growing up during the German Empire's reign goes to show the high priorities of the education system and the efficiency it presented. One source showing literacy rates showed, quote, "But Germany was benefiting from the highest literacy rate, 99%, education levels that provided the nation with more people good at handling numbers, more engineers, chemists, opticians, skilled workers for its factories, skilled managers, knowledgeable farmers, and skilled military personnel." Literacy in Britain, France, Norway, Sweden, and Australia was also above 90%. In the less industrialized Balkans, it was in the 50 to 70% range, and in the 30 to 50% range in Russia, and said to be below 30% in China, India, Africa, and the Islamic countries. End quote. We can see how Germany progressed at this far out, even outdoing France and England in many ways. The average meals in the German Empire would be a healthy diet consisting of this list of foods. Breakfast might include bread with butter or cheese, and perhaps some cold cuts. Lunch, the main meal of the day, could feature a meat dish with potatoes and vegetables. Dinner was usually lighter, often consisting of bread and leftovers from lunch. The average meal was also dominated by rural Germany, as there was much more agricultural food growing, similar to the United States with its large rural lands. Germany would be a culturally conservative nation during the empire's reign, with women expected to be mothers and children growing up in their traditional communities. In 1900, the typical German family structure was largely influenced by the emerging bourgeoisie or middle-class model. This model emphasized a nuclear family setup consisting of a married couple and their children. The family unit typically included parents and their children. Extended family members, such as grandparents, aunts, and uncles, often lived separately. There was a strict division of labor based off gender. Men were generally the breadwinners, working outside the home, while women were responsible for managing the household and raising the children. Parenting focused on instilling discipline and moral values. Education was highly valued, and children were expected to contribute with household chores. Marriages were often arranged or influenced by social or economic considerations. To address urbanization, however, it created a new, rapidly changing Germany, with millions of Germans moving to the cities to find work. Conditions back then were often bad, as it was quite a struggle. Under Bismarck, however, he would install much more progressive economic policies, with examples as health insurance policy, 1883, accident insurance, 1884, old age pensions, 1889, and a strong tariff policy as Europe would stumble economically during the 1870s. Another part of the source I found was the speeds of the manufacturing and how they were able to mass manufacture all these products. To quote, in Germany, between 1840 and 1900, productivity rose 190%, compared to 90% for Switzerland, 75% for Sweden, 50% for Italy and Belgium, 35% for France, and 30% for Russia. Common people in Germany and in these other countries could more easily afford new clothing. Germany's share in manufacturing rose from 8.5% in 1880 to 13.2% in 1900, compared to Britain's share falling from 22.9% to 18.5%. This came with Germany's particular strengths in coal, iron, steel, and railways. In the middle of the continent with its railways, Germany came to dominate European commerce, with the exception in France. The German Empire would have a fertility rate of around 5 kids per woman, creating a booming population which would result in migration of millions of Germans to find new countries to live in, along with the empire itself increased from 41 million in 1870 all the way to 67 million in 1914. The buildings in Germany were built often from bricks, and according to landmarksarchitects.com, we would see, quote, historicism is a type of architecture that took influence from historical styles and workmanship. Following the neoclassical era, a new historicism phase evolved in the mid-19th century, defined by a notable revival of ancient classicism, particularly in architecture and history painting. In Germany, there were regional variations of historicism styles. The Nuremberg style, the Hanover School of Architecture, and resort architecture are among examples of these regional variations. During this period, Germany would have a revival in many of the old German-style buildings, bringing in an elegance and beauty and the construction of many amazing buildings, such as the Reichstag building, the Großes Schlosspeithaus, Berlin Cathedral, the Neuschwanstein Castle, Hamburg City Hall, and many others. The German Empire, like England and the US, had 3 main classes: the working class, the middle class, and the upper class. The working class was the lowest who would develop the country's industrial base. They would suffer the most, but bring the German Empire to a massive industrial power. They often lived in cities or nearby them to work in the factories. The middle class was the largest and was widely influential, incorporating professions, civil servants, and skilled workers. Essentially, the middle point of the rich and poor. The middle class tended to live in a mix, but would often lean towards the rural areas. Finally, the upper class. The richest and most powerful were businessmen and politicians who often lived within the cities. If you wanted to laugh, you would go to the entertainment biz. The entertainment industry of Germany would rise as the nation became more and more wealthy for its populace. Theaters would be greatly expanded as musical dramas and symphonies would have mass appeal in the industry. Not everything was good though. The 2 largest problems with German life were still around. The first was the Catholic-Protestant split. Approximately 1/3 of the German Empire was Catholic, leading to the country having similar problems to that of America, where a majority Protestant nation has a large Catholic community. Catholics would become strong in the leftist blocs, while Protestants tended to be in the more conservative groups. The other large problem in the German Empire was mass industrialization. Like every other country that did this, fast industrialization was both a blessing and a curse. The benefits would provide more jobs and abilities to make enough things for a massive populace, both in and exported out of the country. The downsides, though, were much larger as workers would have horrible conditions, along with mass urbanization skyrocketing suicide rates. To conclude, the German Empire, though having some shortfalls, had an extensive culture, contributed greatly with the development of science and physics, while massively industrializing, turning the nation to one of the powers of Europe. It also goes to show, despite us having these fun memes of, oh, France just surrenders, or oh, Germany is the Nazis, as much as we can have these fun memes, it's also important to see the history and the background with these countries, as they're more than just the stereotypes that are provided, along with every other country. This also concludes part 1 of the series. Part 2 will focus more on the government structure and how the states ran. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm sorry for all the horrible timing. I really wanted to upload this earlier, but man, school sucks and I got limited time here. You know, with my parents, I want to spend more time with my family before I leave. I'm growing up, you know, things are pretty difficult right now, but I'm really glad that I could do this, and next time I hope to make this, you know, longer and maybe combine it all the series to like 40 minutes. I would really like to do that for you guys. Thank you so much for the support, and I really appreciate it all. And yeah, Bennett out.